it was good. I appreciate it. We got the right balance on that. Check. Thought that was a gaffer's job. No? Key grip? All right. You guys ready to roll? Edgar, your buddy ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Back off the IR.
Good. Guys, it's been a pretty good week. I think the guys are in a good place. Obviously, as we talked about earlier, got pretty hot out there, and it's going to stay that way. And yet, I thought they really battled through and finished pretty well. And I think they're starting to take a little pride in that, and that's a good thing. Second piece on that is I can feel the excitement about being able to play at home. You know, these guys are ready to come back to the swamp. They obviously know never to take an opportunity of playing in the swamp for granted. And we're looking forward to our fans getting out there for that early kick. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And excited to see them play. As we talked on Monday, we talked about the challenges, the things that this team brings. Derek does an outstanding job of coaching, and what he's built in that program and what he's brought from a mindset standpoint and good player standpoint. And historically, in the history of this game, this has been a battle. And we're expecting nothing less this week. So, injury-wise, those guys, Elijah is going to be okay. Reek's going to be okay. Kavaris Harp was in the league practice today with a shin. Actually went today. Did some things. I wouldn't say that he's 100%. So that'll still be kind of game time to see where he's at. But he did practice. Love the fact he went out and pushed himself and gave himself a chance to get a little bit better. Kylan Johnson has been practicing this week. We'll look at today's film again and see how he's moving before we make a determination if he's ready, and then see how many reps he may be ready from a rep count standard. But he's definitely headed in the right direction. That's really about it. Tyree still sore, so is Brandon Powell. We talked about them, afterwards, and yet the thing I like about these guys, they aren't using any of that as an excuse. They're actually battling to go out and practice, and that's a really good thing. So, questions? Edgar?
Well, first off, Malik Davis, will he start at tailback?
He's going to play a bunch. We'll decide that on how to play the players. He's been taking a bunch of reps, obviously, as he has the previous weeks as well. But obviously, he's doing a good job, and he'll get a lot of carries.
Now that you've had 48 hours to kind of look over things, the sworn complaints.
Oh yeah.
Assimilate that. Talk
Sure.
to your staff, the administration.
Yeah,
what are your
and
thoughts?
I think obviously. As you all know, and you've been at it a long time, this is a long legal piece still to go. And then once the legal piece is done, then the university piece. So obviously disappointed as we were from the get-go. And yet, there's still a lot to be found out. And, I think you just got to let it from a legal standpoint play out. And then obviously from there, a university standpoint. And then we'll deal with it at that time.
I mean, are you surprised? I know you're disappointed, but is the scope of the thing kind of catch you off guard? The number of charges, the amount of...
I think I'd say this in a couple of the guys' case, when you look at the sheer numbers, the idea of getting something for nothing, really disappointing.
Well, I understand a lot of you've recruited for years. You've been to areas of the country probably none of us have been in and seen a lot of deprived kids.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're saying something for nothing? I mean, there's right and wrong for everybody. But do you feel like some of these guys that come from these kind of backgrounds, does that weigh on the way you look at it in any way?
No, because you know what? Ultimately, we can use that as an excuse. There's a lot of guys that have done a lot of good things and taken advantage of the opportunities that they've been given. And yet, the flip side of that coin is, the understanding that, something that looks too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. And not get caught up in it. I mean, look, in all our cases, and everybody in here, we know right from wrong. And you know what? There comes a point where you got to tell yourself, this is right or this is wrong. And like I said, disappointing, no doubt about it. In some cases, the amount, in a couple of the cases. Wow.
Thomas?
Particularly for a guy like Antonio, who's had his name in the headlines for a lot of bad reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Do you worry about keeping a guy like that around the program in terms of potentially having a negative impact on other players?
I think one thing you got to understand is the way this was handled. We didn't wait. We took care of it immediately. Let's talk about loss. Taking away something so important is a great lesson. Our guys will learn from that.
Does that maybe factor in any future decisions, though, as far as once everything is out of the way, you look at volume of incidents?
Obviously, and yet let's step back. The legal process has to run its course, and then obviously there's a university component as well before it ever travels anywhere else. And so those are the things that I said. It's going to be some time now,
Robbie? Coach, are these still all in school that you know of?
Yeah, they're all in school.
But I guess as long as it's going to take, I guess their season's pretty much done. Is that kind of the way you look at it? Or?
The legal process,
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what you're trying to get at other than the fact, guys, immediately made aware of it. What did we do? We didn't hide it, right? We talked about it. We obviously were alerted. We immediately took action. And at this point, the legal process has to run. And look, I feel horrible about it. I feel horrible for those kids. I also know what it can do for the rest to reckon the rest of their life.
Any update on James Robinson after his
Yeah.
case last week?
Actually, we flew up to a specialist. We've got those results. They're now having to be read by a couple other people to see exactly where it's at. He's been in really good spirits, and as soon as I hear the final definite one way or the other, we'll obviously let you know.
Ryan?
Have you talked to the guys since everything came out Monday?
We've been in contact from the standpoint of making sure through all their academic stuff. More than anything is the understanding they've got a lot to take care of, and you got to take care of that before you ever think about anything else.
And who all was involved in the conversations you've had since this came out? Scott, university people. What's the scope of the conversations you've had?
The athletic director, obviously, people in the administration, obviously the staff, and then from there, the conversations have been obviously you got to let the legal process go, the investigation go, and find out from there.
Given the fact that the guys haven't practiced, I guess is why we asked the question if it's realistic for them to come back this year, because it will have been maybe up to 2 months without practicing. How much time would they need to get back going if it were to get resolved?
Yeah, I think everybody's different. I don't have a crystal ball. And at this point, there's really no reason to even look there and tell if that may happen or not, right? We'll know after the time when it gets decided, the legal piece, And then obviously it's school piece. Right now, the last time I checked, we haven't played a game with them.
Okay.
Am I right?
No, you're all right.
Okay. And we're playing Vanderbilt. I realize that all the bad news is good news, right? But at the same time, guys, there's nothing has changed in anything that we're doing. It's a long process, as we said from the start. And our guys are aware of it. We talked about it when it broke. Well, you guys broke it to me. And once, we talked about it as a team, just understanding what's next. And now let's get ready to go play Vanderbilt.
Thomas?
I know a lot of times people look at the numbers kind of at the end of the day in terms of offense and stuff like that. When you go back and watch the tape, do you see things that, signs of improvement maybe from the last couple of games where you feel like you guys are about ready to turn this thing around for good?
There are. There's some really good things, and then yet, at times you just say, we got to step back and take a look at this. However, when you see how close we are from a consistency standpoint, that's where the biggest piece is the consistency. It seems like, you get a couple things going, and then all of a sudden you allow something negative to affect you. And I thought this last game they did a pretty good job of rebounding from some of that. Obviously, us not getting set on 3rd and 1 after making it on that run and then get pushed back 5 yards. And yet, here's the amazing thing about that. At times in practice, for whatever reason, refuse to get down and get set. Well, it shows up. So now there's the teachable moment. And those are the things that you need to do moving forward.
Edgar?
How's the team rally around Luke this week?
They've been good, and they've been good around Felipe. I've seen the guys, making sure, because obviously he's disappointed, as we've talked about, and yet to see them kind of rally around all of them is actually a good thing.
But just Luke specifically, what have you seen from him since the win? In terms of, confidence, swagger, whatever.
Well, one thing I've always liked about him is when you talk about the swagger, the study, the preparation, which creates the legitimate swagger. Some guys think they have swagger, but they haven't put in the work. All right. He actually has put in the work. So his teammates respect that, and obviously they're ready to go with it.
What is the one quality about Luke Del Rio that just kind of makes him successful, or allows him to be successful?
I'd say if there's that one that really sticks out to me, it's his competitive spirit. He's got a really, really high competitive spirit.
Well, obviously, with the injuries, I don't think many guys are going to play with that.
Well, and there was some time and some question whether he was going to play again. And when he made the choice to, go ahead, let's get everything done, let's come back, I think that speaks a lot about him.
Nick, over here.
With his experience and knowledge of the playbook, it's almost like having a coach on the field.
Yeah, a lot of things he does is like having a coach on the field. And I think the one thing he's learned growing up, if you emulate your father, that's a pretty good coach. So.
And then, other than us bombarding you with questions about it, how do you keep the suspensions, the family stuff from being a distraction for your team, who, like you said, is trying to prepare for a game that you've kind of struggled with in the past?
Well, I think it was interesting because, it's like the pressure, the obstacle, the adversity, whatever that is. I think the big piece is it's how you deal with it really reveals who you are. How you let it get to you really reveals who you are. And, I guess part of growing up is, look, things are going to happen. Now, you got a choice as to how you're going to deal with it. if you're going to let it hang over your head, or you're going to move forward and learn from it, and really an opportunity for some guys to step up. And I'd say for the most part, our guys have done a pretty darn good job of that.
Bob in the back, to the right.
Coach, with the injuries and the depth at linebacker issue, says anything new on Nick Smith? Any kind of time?
Oh yeah, no, he's been out of practice. He actually he hadn't taken any contact yet, as part of the rehab piece. But he's actually, I can see a big smile on his face. He's got his helmet on now. He's actually got shoulder pads on. Part of the team, and we'll see where it goes. We're not going to rush him. Obviously, we'll do whatever the medical staff does from step by step by step.
So no ballpark figure as a timetable?
As soon as the medical staff gives us, there's a set of procedures that move forward to get any injured player back.
Right.
And once they clear all those hurdles, then on this thing that's called a injury report, okay, it says, let's see, out, okay, go as can, limited reps. In this case, he'll be able to go when he's on the removed from list full go. All right? There's surgery and out. Obviously, we have our sickle cell guys. We have our modified activity guys. Then we've got the illness guys. And here's the thing I like on this is each guy then has the write-up, which explains what exactly they're going to be able to do that day. And, I'm just really figuring out, there's this column called disposition, all right? And I'm like, why can't they just say, this is what's wrong with them, right? But, they got to have these big words, and then I got to figure out what it means. And as I read it, oh, man. There's some of these words. I don't want to embarrass myself because I'm not really good in whatever language
this
that
is.
is.
A dream segment for me. I waited 3 years, but I finally got it.
I had to actually take Latin, all right? And I'm telling you what, it did me absolutely no good to figure out what these words are, but interesting. So there's your injury piece if you were kind of wondering. So there's a really long list that we go through, and we got great medical staff, great doctors. Trainer does a good job. He can diagnose the difference from an ankle sprain to a high ankle sprain like nobody's business. I'll tell you what, it's unbelievable.
The other question was the rotation with Tyler and Fred.
Yeah.
I think that'll continue, or
yeah, it'll continue. Those guys are really doing a good job, and I think it's been good for both of them. And what I like is, and I think I talked about it with you guys. One of the really cool things I saw on Saturday was Fred giving Tyler some advice about a certain technique the guy over him was using before Tyler's turn to go in and play. And, that was pretty neat.
Edgar?
Well, last suspension question for a while.
Okay.
So, in retrospect, you had to kind of look, season now. Do you feel like this stuff did impact the first season, the first game of the season?
Edgar, it's as you know, I'm never an excuse. It is what it is, right? There should be no excuses for performance. Your ability to pick yourself up, go out and get after it. Now, anytime you lose and get out of your locker room some guys that are not only teammates but friends, guys you've been through workouts with, I think there probably is a little bit of that. And I think in some cases there was even some shock. And but with that being said, that's still not an excuse.
Thomas and then Ryan.
I'm curious what you kind of view as the calling card of a Derek Mason coach of defense.
And number one, the discipline in which they play with, the gap control, eye discipline, and the way that they disguised as well in the back end. You can tell his fingerprints are all over it. And physical nature in which they've been playing. And, I'll tell you what, he's done a heck of a job.
Ryan.
A lot's been made about Luke's command of the offense and his ability to get things going a little quicker pre-snap. Is there a good example of something you saw that he adds up there before the snap and just with his experience and depth of knowledge?
Yeah, I think, the idea of understanding the situations in some cases too, as far as exactly what we need to do. Hey, we got him a little bit on the ropes here. Let's tempo this a little bit. I think that's all an experience thing, and he did a good job of it.
Thanks, guys. You guys all set?
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks.